What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today is Rogue Tuesday. Today we're looking at the deck that actually won German National Championship. I think his name was Chriso. I think it's like Chriso. Can't say his whole name. I apologize for that. I know it's Chris something. It's like Chris Salafan something. I don't know, man. I'm really bad with names. I'm sorry, Chris. But first of all, congrats on winning German National. That's pretty amazing with this really unique deck. And also, there's another person who made top cut as well. That was Mark Lutz. Yeah, he went undefeated and lost in top 8. And then also, this deck was played by Gabriel Simoda. I'm pretty I can't say his name. Gabriel from Brazil. I can't remember what placement he got in the championship. I don't even know if it's regionals or nationals. But he played this deck as well, which is where they got the idea from, and they played it for the German National Championship. I think both players went undefeated, if I remember correctly, that played it. I could be wrong, though. But this is a really, really interesting deck. And let's go over the deck, and I'll explain how good of a deck it is. Like, if you notice, it's just a water toolbox deck. Like, literally, that's the name, water toolbox. But let's go over our Pokemon, let's go over our attackers. So our attackers are going to be Seismitoad-EX. It has the attack, Quaking Punch, does 30. Your opponent can't play the item cards. We've seen this card multiple times. We know how strong Seismitoad is. But today, we're actually going to be using Grenade Hammer as well. It does 130 damage. This attack does 30 damage to 2 of your bench Pokemon. Which seems kind of bad, like you're hurting your Pokemon, but I promise it's going to be okay. The next attacker is going to be Regice. Regice's second attack is where it's going to shine. It has the attack Resistance Blizzard. Does 70 damage during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon by Pokemon EX. So obviously Pokemon EX cannot hurt Regice anymore. So if your opponent plays an all EX deck, you can beat them with these Regice. You play 2 Manaphy-EX with Aqua Tube. Each of your Pokemon that has any water energy attached to it has no retreat cost. So it already has basically free retreat. It's like the Dark Cloak from Darkrai, except it's water Pokemon with water energy. And it has the attack as well. Manaphy is actually a really good attacker. It has the attack Mineral Pump. It does 60 damage and heal 30 damage from each of your bench Pokemon. We'll go over in a second why they're so good. Articuno's up next, which has the trait Delta Plus. You take 1 prize card if you knock out a Pokemon. So if you knock out an EX, you take 3. Knock out a regular Pokemon, you take 2, which is really, really strong. It has the attack Tri-Edge. Flip 3 coins, the attack does 40 more damage for each heads. So you flip 2 heads, you can do 80, with the plus 20, 100, and with the Fighting Fury Belt is 110, which can knock out a Shaymin-EX if you get lucky. Alright, 1 Hoopa, just for the scoundrel, search for 3 EX Pokemon, 1 Aegislash, I'll go over in a second why Aegislash is in the deck, and 3 Shaymin to help set up. Now, when you figure out about this deck, I talked to David Hockman, who has actually been commentating the past couple of national championships over in Europe. Very nice guy, very amazing, has been doing great at commentating, really good guy, but he told me a lot of things about this deck, and I'm gonna tell it to you right now. Shout out to David for telling us this. He says, I said, what do you do with this deck? He says, well, depends on the matchup. Alright, he says against Greninja, you try to attack as fast as possible with Articuno. Greninja has very low HP, like the Froakie and Frogadier, and if you can use Tri-Edge, you can easily take quick knockouts. I'll leave a link down below to the Pokemon championship from the past weekend. You can actually Mark Lutz take down a Greninja deck at 524. I'll leave a timestamp and the Twitch link down below. So make sure you check that out if you want to see a game, a 3-game series against Greninja. I think it's actually a 3-game series. Yeah, it's a 3-game series. I actually watched it. Alright, so that's why the Articuno's in there. It's also good against like Night March and stuff too. You can just try it maybe if you want to. But against Night March, you can also try to Quaking Punch and Judge. In this deck, we don't play Judge anymore. I actually cut those for N, since Face Collide is legal online. I think N is going to be fine. But you could maybe cut 1 Judge for, cut 1 N for 1 Judge, like a 1-1 split. And Quaking Punch just sets 30. Your opponent can't play item cards, which, you know, Night March really does rely on item cards a lot, like Battle Professor, Trainers Mail, Time Puzzle, all that good stuff. So it's a very good card. And you can make your Toad have a 220 HP with a Fighting Fury Belt, because it adds 40 more HP to your basic Pokemon and do 10 more damage, okay? Next up against Trevenant, you attack with Manaphy and use Rough Seas. Now, Manaphy has attack Mineral Pump. It does 60. and you heal 30 damage from each of your bench Pokemon. Well, remember, Trevenant has Silent Fear. It does 30 to each Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field, which you can heal with Mineral Pump, except for your active, but you can use Rough Seas maybe. Maybe have 2 Manaphy-Es and switch between them. The only thing that's kind of scary is when they start tree slamming you, because they can do 60, 20, 20, and maybe slowly trying to knock out your Manaphy like 60, 60, 60, 60, while you switch between Manaphy-Es. But I think the matchup is still in your favor by a lot. And he says, okay, against Vesco Vileplume, which actually won the UK Nationals the week before, you just sit up at Aegislash and you just stare at your opponents. Like, you're like, alright, go Aegislash. And your opponent's like, I can't hurt this because you have Mighty Shield, making our Pokemon that has special energies cannot hurt this. So every card in here has its reason. Let's see. In Regice against Mega Decks. Like, Primal Groudon doesn't really have anything in Standard. Mega Quasar doesn't really attack anything. So Regice is really, really good against these Primal decks, or Mega decks that only have Mega Pokemon to attack with. I think like Mega Manectric is like the only Mega deck that might have like multiple non-EX Pokemon to attack you with. Like Wobbuffet, maybe with Bats. They got the Articuno, but I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting match if we play against Mega Manectric. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. And yeah, so both players I think went completely undefeated. 602 is what Chris went. Yeah, I'm just make sure. Yeah, so there we go. Marklet's also went undefeated, but then lost in the top 8. So that's all the Pokemon and why each Pokemon's in here. They all have good reasons, and against everything else, you kind of just Quake Punch and the Grenade Hammer, because Grenade Hammer is such a strong attack. Alright, so that's all your Pokemon. We'll stop talking about the Pokemon now. Alright, so the first thing we need to cover is Max Elixir. Max Elixir, look at the top 6 cards of your deck, attach a basic energy card you find there, and attach it to one of your basic Pokemon on your bench, which is a really good card, and this is how we're going to power attackers fairly quickly. We also play 3 Energy Switch, so you move a basic energy from one of your bench Pokemon to one of your active Pokemon, which could help you get the turn 1 Quake Punch, maybe the turn 1 Grenade Hammer, maybe, the Resistance Blizzard. There's a lot of things you can do since you play 4 Max Elixir and 3 Energy Switch. 1 Super Rod, mainly get back 3 energies, 3 Trainers Mail to help with the process, 4 Ultra Ball, 4 VS Seekers, we know what these cards do, 1 AZ, you can pick up like maybe a Shaymin or Hoopa to reuse them if you want to, 2 Lysandre, 2 N, 3 Sycamore, 1 Xerosic, could get rid of important cards, maybe your opponent has, I don't know, maybe your opponent plays a Fighting Fear Belt, so maybe you can like bump your opponent's HP down, maybe play DCE so you can slow them down. Against Night March you can like Xerosic Punch, and now they can't like puzzle time for the energies, which is really great as well. 4 Rough Seas, they heal 30 damage from each of your water Pokemon, and as you notice, most of our Pokemon are water attackers, and the deck is called Water Toolbox. 3 Fighting Fear Belts, so your base Pokemon have 40 more HP, and they do 10 more damage, and 12 water energy. So there is the Water Toolbox deck. I think the deck is a really strong deck. It's a really, really interesting deck for sure, and has answers to pretty much everything in the format as of right now. This could change later on when Fates Collide does gets released into Standard. I know this week is like the first official release date for Fates Collide in Standard, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend at Nationals. I think there's 3 National Championships going on, so we're going to see what happens with Fates Collide this weekend. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen, but hopefully you enjoyed this deck list. Shout out to everybody who helped, mostly just David. He gave me like all the information that I needed, but congrats to everybody who played the deck. I think this deck is really interesting, like I said, but hopefully you enjoyed this deck introduction. Hopefully it wasn't too complicated, but let's see 2 games with the deck here in a second. I promise they're very, very good very, very good games. Alright, let's see them right now. Alright, playing against Mao BAEA, playing a Lightning, Psychic, and a Colorless deck. They supposedly have the advantage, and let's see what's going to happen. Call the coin flip like always, call heads, and we lost the coin flip, so we will be going second. And let's see what's going to happen. Now, it seems like it's going to be a Night March deck, which our best option is probably use Seismitoad, Articuno. Aegislash could be very useful. There's an Articuno. We have the Energy Switch, VS Seeker as well. Maybe get a Hoopa, get a Shaymin, some other stuff. My opponent has no... we have no other base Pokemon, alright? And like I said, I imagine it's Night March, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There's a Shaymin start, which is not probably the best starter for my opponents. Triad, we can flip like 2 heads, 8, 9, 10, Fighting Fear Belt could knock out the Shaymin, take 3 prize cards. I'm not sure if we want to go for that play. Maybe just going for like the Toad, just punch, and maybe just slow down my opponent that way is probably the best answer. We'll see a battle press come down. If my opponent doesn't put another basic Pokemon down, though, we can probably just try to go for the Tri-Edge. Turn number 1, there is a, looks like just an AZ and a Lysandre being discarded, so I'm not sure what we're playing against. It could as well be Manectric Bats. There's a Rough Seas coming down. So this might be a Manectric Bat 6. There's a Sycamore coming down. Go and discard the hand, draw 7 new cards. And yeah, there is a Mega Manectric. Now the question is, what else is my opponent playing with it? Now we saw Psychic, so most likely it is a Crobat deck, but we might just go for the Regice. Regice says, you know, it can't be hurt by EX Pokemon, which is really nice because my opponent probably only plays like Manectric EXs. You know, they do have the Toads and the Bats and stuff, but is that enough to knock out a Regice? I'm not 100% sure. There's an Ultra Ball discarding double a Lightning Energy, and so most likely see a Manectric EX. I imagine that's what we're going to see. And yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the route we're going to go is the Regice route. So we'll see a Manectric EX coming online. Now the only bad thing is, when we attack, my opponent can use Rough Seas to heal some Manectrics. He has Bats and Crobats and Golbats that he can keep reusing those. There's a Flash Energy going to the Manectric EX. We play Xerosic, but I don't know how helpful it's going to be. On to our turn. We get a Max Elixir, okay. So on Ultra Ball, discard the Sycamore and the Rough Seas. Both cards are pretty much useless right now. Yeah, we'll go for the Regice with the Resistance Blizzard. Probably the best route. Like I said, we could go for Hoopa, but I don't want to give my opponent multiple options as of right now. So we'll just grab the Regice. Put down the Regice. We'll use Max Elixir. And there's a Water Energy, so we'll attach that to the Regice. Put a Water Energy on the active. Use VS Seeker, and we could... Ooh, no, I think the smarter play is definitely just... maybe going for a chilling side, put the Shaymin to sleep and start using Regice. Let's use a Sycamore, discard the hand, draw 7 new cards. There's a Manaphy, Fighting Fear Belt. We're going to put that on the Regice. Or do we... Oh, man, I don't know. It has have 160. That's interesting. I think we're going to hold on to the Fighting Fear Belt so my opponent evolves into a Mega Manectric. So let's put down a Manaphy, and let's just go for a chilling side. Yeah, let's go for a chilling side. Put that Shaymin to sleep. Hopefully, let's see, will it stay asleep? And tells it does stay asleep. Alright, so on to my opponent's turn. They have to play that AZ that they have in their discard pile, which they could use via Seeker to pick it back in their hand. There's another metric coming down, okay. There is a... Oh, wait! Oh, my goodness, I'm silly. If we use Resistance Blizzard, my opponent doesn't matter if they use... yeah, it doesn't matter who the Fighting Fear Belt is. So yeah, the Fighting Fear Belts definitely needs to go down onto that guy. Put down the Fighting Fear Belts, and I guess my opponent doesn't really have anything, so I'm actually just going to Xerosic off that Flash Energy. And then I'm just going to end my turn. Next turn, yes, I'm sure I want to end my turn, I know. We could use, we could attack, and then another Tails for my opponent. Alright, so on to our opponent's turn. Now what we can do is retreat to Regice, start using Resistance Blizzard. I forgot that once we attack with Resistance Blizzard, Assault Laser doesn't matter anymore. There's a Super Rod, gonna shuffle some Lightning Energies back into the deck. My opponent can't shuffle that Flash Energy, of course, because it's not a not a basic energy. So Manectric and 2 Lightning Energy going back into their hand. And does my opponent have a supporter card or not? I do have the in hand, which is pretty much not the best card to play right now. My opponent just draw pass in. And there's Sycamore. He's going to discard a Fighting Fear Belt, draw 7 new cards. I imagine he's looking for a link for this guy. But since my opponent plays Super Rod, oh, he still has 2 Lightnings in the discard pile. Never mind. And there's a Raikou coming down. Alright, so my opponent does have an answer to our Regice through this Raikou. There's a Spirit Link going out onto the Manectric EX. But we could, we could Grenade Hammer to knock out the Raikou. That could be one possibility that we could do. There's a Lightning going to the Manectric EX, okay. And this is going to be interesting. Oh, Grenade Hammer doesn't even knock it out anymore because now it has 160 thanks to the Fighting Fear Belts. We could maybe Xerosic, then Grenade Hammer. There's a Shaymin coming down, which I'm actually okay with because we can knock out another Shaymin with another Grenade Hammer. So Shaymin's going to come down, set up for 7 new cards. And maybe my opponent doesn't play Bats. Maybe the Psychic Pokemon's a Hoopa. That'd be my best guess, since we really haven't seen any Bats. I imagine we would see some Zubats or Crobats or Golbats. There's a Trubbish, okay, so they do play Garbodor, which is fairly interesting. There's a Max Elixir. Alrighty, so my opponent can maybe attack this turn if they could find a Switch or an Escape Rope. They've already played a supporter card for the turn. There's a Lightning going to the Raikou, and yeah, it looks like my opponent will try to go for a Thunderlance. The Shaymin does wake up. Alright, on to our turn. We get a Rough Seas. We're going to put down the Toad, Water Energy this guy, and we're going to go for an end, put both players at 6 new cards. Let's see, what do we get? There's a Toad, AZ, Energy Switch, okay. I think the plan right now is just to retreat into the Regice and just use Resistance Blizzard. We can maybe knock out the Shaymin next turn. There is 80 damage. If the Shaymin stays in the active spot, we can knock it out. My opponent has to put an energy to Shaymin to retreat it, and then they can't really attack unless they play another Max Elixir or Mega Turbo. But if they use Mega Turbo, they can't really hurt us with the Manectric. We can then Lysandre up the Shaymin-EX and take a knockout on it. Okay. We should have probably used Energy Switch onto the Toad as well, to try to get... Oh, man, the bad thing about the Raikou as well, it has a shiny body, but if we get a Fighting Free Belt on the Toad, we do 140 damage, which is enough to knock it out if the Fighting Free Belt's not on the Raikou. But let's see what my opponent decides to do. It looks like he attached energy to the Manaphy-EX. We're going to see a VS Seeker for the AZ. Going to pick that Shaymin, put it back into his hand. Alrighty, and the question is, what do we do our turn? We could maybe play Sycamore. How many VS Seekers have we played? Looks like we've only played one. Okay. So there's a Spirit Link going down onto the Trubbish. And my opponent could maybe get the Garbodor out. There's a Shaymin coming down. Going to draw 2 cards. They've already played their supporter card for the turn, being the AZ. Alright. And let's see, what else does my opponent do? He still can't hurt a Regice. He can use Turbo onto this Raikou. And yeah, I think getting the Seismitoad ready for the next turn is probably the best option. There's a Garbodor coming down, which the bad thing about Garbodor being online is now we don't have our abilities, which kind of stinks. We don't have free retreat anymore. There's a Turbo coming down, going to do 100. Actually, it doesn't do any damage because we have the Resistance Blizzard in effect right now. So we're going to put 2 Lightning Energies onto this Raikou. Alright, so on our turn, we get a Shaymin. I'm going to Energy Switch, put an energy onto this guy. We will Trainers Mail. We'll grab the Max Elixir. Oh, we could have waited for the... Oh, no, we should have waited for the VS Seeker. We could have brought... Oh, do we... we don't have a license in discard pile regardless. Alright, so let's Max Elixir. Gonna put a Water Energy on to this Toad. And then we're just gonna play Sycamore, discard our hand, draw 7 new cards. And wow, Garbodor being online is gonna mess up a lot of things. But there's a Lysandre next turn, so we can maybe bring up the Garbodor the following turn. Let's attach... let's use Max Elixir first. And it looks like there's no Water Energy, so press done. Put a Water Energy on the Toad. And we'll once again, we could go for a Ice Beam to try to paralyze it, but I think going for the Resistant Blizzard, doing the 70 damage or 80 damage with the Fighting Fury Belt. My opponent will use Rough Seas, but now we can't be hurt by EX Pokemon. And my opponent can't really knock us out this Raikou. I think that's to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is the max we can do. He could do, and we have 160 HP. So that's okay. So my play next turn is to Lysandre this Garbodor. Hope my opponent does not have another VS Seeker. And if they do decide to attack with the Raikou, we could then VS Seeker for a... Oh, there's a Headwind coming down on a Toad as well. Wow, okay. That kind of throws us a curveball. And there's a Rough Seas coming down. Going to heal 30 damage from that Manaphy-EX. The question is my opponent going to switch into the Raikou? I imagine so. That's their only real attacker. And there's a Skyla. And let's see if my opponent decides to get out. How many VS Seekers have they played? Just the 1. Okay. This Garbodor is going to mess a lot of things up for us. Huh. But Skyla's going to search for a some kind of tool, or maybe a supporter card, or... I don't know. We'll see what my opponent decides to get. They could also Skyla for a Floatstone if we do... Well, no. We're not going to Xerosic. We're just going to Lysandre. There's a Lysandre going to their hand for the next turn. Now, my opponent Lysandre's... He probably Lysandre the Articuno, and it has a 2 retreat cost as of right now. Because the Garbodor is shutting down the abilities. There's a Raikou coming into play. And we will probably see a Thunderlights not knocking us out, so we will survive. 120 damage. Alrighty. And on our turn, what do we get? We get a Water Energy, which is great. We can put down the Articuno, making it where if my opponent does Lysandre the Articuno, we can maybe, retreat it. We're going to use Rough Seas, Lysandre the Garbodor. And we are going to use Resistance Blizzard for 70. Alright, so my opponent can still use VS Seeker for the AZ, pick up the Garbodor. They can send up the Raikou, take a knockout. But then we're left in a weird position because we can't really take a knockout on our Toad. Because we're Headringer, we needed energy, we can't use Fighting Fury Belts, and then the Thunderlights, our Shiny Body comes into effect again. There's a Battle Compressor. He's going to discard 3 cards out of his deck. Okay. How do we do this? I guess one thing we could have done last turn is just, just Grenade Hammer the Raikou, like free retreat to the Grenade, to the Toad, Grenade Hammer the Raikou, and then maybe try to Grenade Hammer the other Shaymins. That might have should have been the play from the start. It was just like Grenade Hammer the Shaymins. There's a Rough Seas coming down, healing that Manaphy-EX. And let's see what else does my opponent do. Yeah, maybe Grenade Hammer the Shaymins should have been the play from the start. But still fairly new with this deck. We'll see what my opponent decides to do. Now, next turn, what we could do, pass on to our turn, alright. So we get it in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to Rough Seas. I'm going to VS Seeker for a Xerosic. I'm going to Xerosic off this tool, so then we have free retreat. So then we're going to retreat into the Toad. And then my opponent has a Lysandre. That could be kind of bad. We will Quake Punch for the knockout. But now my opponent doesn't have any, can't use item cards. Do 110 damage. We'll go down to 5 prize cards. We get a Water Energy, okay. And we'll most likely see the Raikou come up. Oh, it looks like, Manaphy has free retreat regardless. So onto our opponent's turn, let's see what happens. We know he has the Lysandre in his hand, but who will he bring up if he does? Like I said, he could bring up the Regice, take a knock on it this turn. There's 20 damage coming down, or the Rough Seas healing 20 damage off the Manaphy-EX. Alrighty, and let's see what else does my opponent do. But if my opponent Lysandres with the Regice, what we can do is Lysandre with the Shaymin, Grenade Hammer for a knockout, maybe Lysandre another Shaymin for a knockout. There's another Raikou coming down as well. And we're going to see a Turbo knocking out a Regice. Most likely, there's a Lightning going to Raikou. How many VS Seekers have we played? Just the 2, right? Yeah, just the 2. So there's Turbo for the knockout. Okay. Okay, so he's going to take those prize cards. He'll go down to 4 prize cards. Alright, we'll send up the Toad. Hey, I think my plan is going to be Lysandre the Shaymin. And there's a Rough Sea. So put energy on this guy. We will Lysandre up a Shaymin. We'll use Grenade Hammer for the knockout. We'll go down to 3 prize cards. And what we could do is take our last 3 prize cards by knocking out the Shaymin with our Articuno. So let's take 2 prize cards. There's 1 and there's 2. There's an Ultra Ball and a Water Energy. Alright, so it could be, we could do this next turn. We could knock out the Shaymin next turn, take our last 3 prize cards. If we get lucky with our heads, we have to flip 8, 9, 10. We have to flip 2, maybe get a Fighting Fury Belt. If we don't get a Fighting Fury Belt, we'll have to flip 3. There's 1 in our discard pile. And let's see what does our opponent do. We could also maybe Lysandre up the Shaymin, punch it. We've already played 2 Lysandres and 2 VS Seekers, though. There's a Fighting Fury Belt going down onto the Raikou. I think putting it down on Shaymin would probably be the better play, for sure. And there's a Thunderlights. It's not going to knock us out. It's going to do, what, 120? Okay. So on our turn, can we do this play or not? There's a Manaphy. We use Rough Seas. We are going to attach an energy onto this Articuno. We'll Ultra Ball, discard Manaphy and the Rough Seas. And let's see what's left in our deck. I don't think we're really going to grab anything. But there's a Fighting Fury Belt. And there's a VS Seeker. So we can pull this off. There's a Max Elixir as well. There's 17 cards left in our deck. We're probably not going to grab anybody. We'll grab a Toad or an Articuno. We'll just bench the Articuno, play the Shaymin, draw some cards, maybe get an Ultra Ball, play another Shaymin, and there's an Articuno coming down, using Shaymin-EX, going to set up for 4 new cards. Alrighty, let's see, what do we get off these cards? There's a Max Elixir and the VS Seeker. Alright, so let's use, do we use the Max Elixir now? Yeah, let's go for a yellow. Alright, Max Elixir, come on down, and no, we whiffed it, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. Alright. Alright. So press done. Let's see. What to do now? Alright, so I'm gonna Ultra Ball, discard in and Rough Seas, and we're gonna look at our hand look at our deck one more time to see what's all in there. There's a Fighting Fury Belt, Rough Seas, no more VS Seekers as well. There is 3 Water Energies, okay. Alright, so we'll press done. I think we'll just go for a Shaymin setup. And then go for a Quake Punch. Make my opponent can't play the item cards, so that way they can't maybe play a VS Seeker or Lysandre thing. We'll put a Fighting Fever on this guy. And yeah, let's go for a Quake Punch, just making it so my opponent can't... Well, he can take a knockout this turn, which would be unfortunate. But I think, yeah, going for the Quake Punch, making my opponent can't play the item cards, they would Lysandre the Shaymin, and we'll just leave it up to fate. We'll see what happens. There's a Quake Punch for 10. My opponent can't play the item cards, so he can't VS Seeker for anybody. He can't put a Fighting Fever on the Shaymin, and we're going to see what happens. Will we flip heads on this? We need to flip 2 out of 3 heads on this Articuno. So there's a Rough Seas coming down, going to heal that Raikou. And yeah, he'll take a knockout. There's a Flash Energy on the Raikou. And let's see what's going to happen. There's a Thunder Lance. Going to go down to 3 prize cards. But will Articuno become MVP or not? That is the question. Let's go Articuno. Let's slice into that Shaymin. Let's see what's going to happen. Go Articuno. What do we draw? Onto our turn, we get a Ultra Ball. Alright, so we're going to put a Water Energy on this guy. We'll VS Seeker. For our last VS Seeker will be a Lysandre. We will Lysandre that Shaymin. Let's see what's going to happen. Come to me, Shaybay. Let's go for a Tri-Edge. Come on. Let's get 2 out of 3 heads. Let's do it right now. There is heads, tails, and heads. Yes! We did it. We knocked out the Shaymin-EX, taking our last 3 cards with the Articuno EX. And there is... Woo! Alright. There is Articuno Seismitoad Manaphy deck. That was pretty crazy. I had to kind of think outside of there for a second. But we did it. We knocked out the Garbodor. What else did we knock out? Shaymin-EX and the other Shaymin-EX. So there we go. Grenade Hammer proven, you know, pretty useful. Knocking out Shaymins. Articuno's Tri-Edge being useful as well. Taking a knockout on the last Shaymin, taking 3 prize cards. But we'll see one more game with the deck here in a second, and we'll see what happens. Alright, you're putting it Silverhawk 4-2-2, playing an all Psychic deck. This could be a Trevenant deck, which is going to be amazing. We can use Manaphy to heal our Pokemon off. And Rough Seas as well. So onto our opponent's turn, let's see what's going to happen. It is an all Psychic. And speaking of Manaphy, hey, there he is. My opponent has no base Pokemon. Let's start with this Manaphy. We'll press stun. And let's see what's going to happen. There is Wally. Okay, yep, it is definitely a Trevenant deck, most likely. The only thing that's scary is that Wally, if he gets to turn 1 Wally. Well, we get 2 energy cards. There's a Target Whistle as well. This is very interesting. I've never seen a Target Whistle on a Trevenant deck. Maybe it's not Trevenant. But I mean, it looks like a Trevenant deck. There's a Wally in, okay. I mean, I'm glad we started with this Manaphy with a mental prompt. There's another one. Oh, there he is. Mr. Trevenant himself. Alright, so my opponent is going to have the first turn. He can use an N if he wants to disrupt us. There's 2 Pokemon coming down. Yes, we'll like to draw a mulligan. Yes. Alrighty, so there's a Rough Seas. We'll put down the Seismitoad. And there's a Phantom and a Phantom. Alright, so if we get turn 1 right now, we can have a really great turn. We can Ultra Ball, get out maybe another Manaphy. There's an energy and a pass onto our turn. Alright, so we can't take a knockout this turn. We're going to fight for both the active. We're going to use Ultra Ball, discard an Ultra Ball, and I guess the AZ. Yeah, the AZ is going to be pretty much useless. I mean, we could maybe use it to pick up hurt Pokemon later. It looks like our other Manaphy is prized, so I'm just going to go for another Seismitoad, kind of thin our deck just a little bit. I'm not really scared about my opponent, like, Lysandre Pokemon, so we're going to put a Toad down, Fighting Fear Belts, and we'll go for an N. Can we get a Max Elixir and a Energy Switch? Okay, there's a Max Elixir, we'll play it, and can we get a Energy, then a Energy Switch? Oh, we didn't attach for a turn yet. Wow, that was almost a mistake there. But let's Max Elixir. There's the Water Energy. Alright, so we got the Water Energy. We'll put that on Toad. Let's go for Trainers Mail. Let's see, what do we get? And there's the Energy Switch. So we got the turn 1 Energy Switch combo off. So we'll Energy Switch from the Toad. Onto the Manaphy. And we will use a Mineral Pump to knock out the active. So this Mineral Pump, 470, knocking out the Phantom. Now, what can my opponent really do? They can use Tree Slam, maybe do that. But if we draw into Rough Seas, we'll be A-okay. There's a Phantom coming up. And we also have a Fighting Fury Belt giving our Manaphy-EX 160 HP. So let's see what my opponent is going to do. Also, if they Lysandre somebody up, we have a Water Energies in our hand. There's a Bursting Balloon, which is going to make things interesting for sure. Going to go on the active. Okay, because if we hit it, he hits us for 60. Then if he tree slams us, he can still not knock us out, though. So that's very unfortunate for our opponents. So I'm not really that scared of Bursty Balloon. There's an Ultra Ball, going to discard a Delinquent and a Via Seeker. So that's very good to know that my opponent plays a Delinquent, because now we don't want to put our hand down to 3. There's a Trevenant coming in our hand. So we're going to put down the Trevenant, okay. And there's a Dimension Valley coming down. There's Sycamore, going to discard the hand, draw 70 cards, discarding a Wally. And now we can't play any of our item cards, which is kind of unfortunate. We don't really have anything in our hand. There is a Psychic Energy to the active. So my opponent can use a Tree Slam next turn, but that only puts us to 120. The only thing I'm kind of scared about is if my opponent, what is it? I forgot what I was going to say. Okay, but we're actually okay, because what we can do is put down Manaphy, put a Water Energy on it. I forgot what I was going to say. I don't remember. I don't know, but we got a Lysandre, bring up the Phantom. We can Mineral Pump for the knockout. And we got another Manaphy ready to go. Alright, so we're looking good. There's another knockout on a Phantom. We're going to have 4 prize cards. Let's see, we get a Trainers Mail, which is going to be useless. The Trevenant is going to come up, but the Burst Balloon is going to get popped off. Almost my opponent's turn. But now what we can do is switch between 2 Manaphys, healing each other if they want to. There's a Wally, going to get the Breakout. And we could see a Silent Fear come down. But we have Mineral Pump. It can heal 30 from each of our Pokemon, which is going to be great. I don't know how my opponent's going to win this game. And what we might do is just hold on to the Water Energy for now, just in case my opponent ends us next turn or something. Or maybe like a Lysandre or Toad, we don't have a way to retreat. So there's another Phantom coming down. And does my opponent, nope, looks like just a Solid Fair come down. Going to do 30 to everybody, but we can use Mineral Pump to heal off our Manaphy. So on our turn, we get a N. I'm just going to hold it for right now, I think. No, let's put a Water Energy on a Toad. And then go for an N. If we draw to a Rough Seas, we can make our opponent can't attack next turn. There's more Water Energies though. Okay, we're still looking good, regardless. So let's use Mineral Pump. Gonna heal 60, do 30 everywhere. Alright, heal 30 from us, do 70 to the active. Alright, so we can't two-shot the Trevenant break, but that's still gonna be okay. On to our opponent's turn. We just heal 30 from everywhere. If he Lysandres at the Toad, we have an energy to retreat still. So we're gonna be okay. As long as he doesn't end us or something. Oh, he still can play Delinquent as well, but we still keep 1 Water Energy in our hand. So, I mean, I think we're looking great. There's a Psychic Energy to the active. We'll see a Tree Slam doing 60. There's a Team Flare Gun discarding a Water Energy, but what we can do, retreat to this guy, heal 30 everywhere, and now we can switch to 2 Manaphys. So there's Tree Slam for 60 and 30-30. Or 20-20, sorry. So 90-20-20. On to our turn. We get a Rough Seas, so we'll put down the Rough Seas. Oh my goodness, that's not good for our opponents. We use Rough Seas, heal the Manaphy down to 60, free retreat into the Manaphy, put energy on the active, and we'll use Mineral Pump for 60 damage. And then next turn we can retreat once again to this Manaphy, taking the knockout. We heal the Manaphy down to 30. Next turn use another Rough Seas, healing the Manaphy all the way down. So it's not looking good for our opponent. You can see how the tournament match kind of goes. There's a Dimension Valley coming down. We could see another Tree Slam if they wanted to. There's a Mystery Energy going to the bench. There's a Sycamore. I imagine looking for a Bursting Balloon. But going to Sycamore, discard the hand, draw 70 cards. There's a Trevenant coming down. They've only played... They played 3 Dimension Valleys so far and 1 Bursting Balloon. Okay. And let's see. Does he go for a Silent Fear? I mean, pretty much he can't go for Silent Fear. It'll be just negated. But next turn we'll just retreat to the Manaphy, use it one more time. There's a Tree Slam. I wish... Okay, it looks like he's only played 1 Via Seeker. So 60-20-20, on to our turn. We get a Water Energy. Alright, I guess we will retreat to the Manaphy. Put energy on the active. And use Mineral Pump one more time. Alright, so how much HP we have left? 110. We just need to find a Rough Seas. And we'll have 3... What is it? 3... Yeah, we'll have 3 Dimension Valleys in the discard pile, so it's my opponent's turn. There's a Mystery Energy to the active. There's a Sycamore. Go and discard the hand, draw 70 cards. They're most likely looking for a Trevenant break. Okay, so there's a Burst Balloon going to that guy. Okay. There's Trevenant break coming down. There's a Trainer's Mail. Getting a Max Potion, which could be kind of annoying, but my opponent will have to discard 2 Mystery Energies. And we'll see another Tree Slam. We'll still be surviving. This guy will be surviving as well. There's a Tree Slam. Okay. So 60-20-20. Alright, on our turn, what do we get? a Water Energy. So I'm going to put a Water Energy on the Toad, and maybe go for a Grenade Hammer. Let's use Shaymin setting up for 3, which might seem kind of dangerous, but you can remember we can always Minimum Pump to heal the Shaymin. There's a Rough Seas coming down, which is great. We can now heal our Manaphy, all of our water Pokemon basically. Free retreat into the other Manaphy, and heal this Manaphy up some because he does have 80 damage on it, so let's use Minimum Pump. And things are not looking good for our opponents. They're 60, 30, bringing that Manaphy down to 30. But Burst Balloon does hit us. Ooh, if he goes for a Tree Slam, he'll knock us out. But if he doesn't put down that Pokemon, we can go for a Grenade Hammer to knock him out and win the game. Forgot about the Bursting Balloon, but there's a Trainers Mail. Gonna look up top 4 cards of his deck. He doesn't have any more Phantoms left, but he could play Wobbuffet. But let's see what my opponent decides to do. And let's see. There's a Stevens gonna search for an energy and a supporter card, but I doubt that's what he wants to see. He wants to see maybe a Super Rod, get back in those Trevenants or those Phantoms. But if my opponent does put another Pokemon down, we can use the Grenade Hammer. And there's a Judge gonna put both of us at 4 cards. It's interesting to see that he didn't play an N. Maybe he didn't have it in his hand. Maybe he won a new hand as well. There's a Hoopa. We could use Hoopa to get maybe a Shaymin if there's one in our deck. There's a Trainers Mail. Gonna look at the top 4 cards of his deck. Gonna grab a Dimension Valley, which is gonna be kind of annoying because now we can't use Rough Seas, obviously. And he can use Tree Slam now. He couldn't use Tree Slam at first because he didn't have enough energies, but now he can Tree Slam, knock out our Manaphy-X, going down to 4 price cards. Well, let's see what's going to happen. Can we draw into Water Energy? Is there a Shaymin left in our deck? I imagine there has to be a Shaymin in there. We've only played 1, and we play a total of 3 with 3 prize cards left. Can we get the Water Energy to use Grenade Hammer? So many things going to happen this turn. Let's go Manaphy. What's going to happen? Give me a Water Energy or not, and there's a VS Seeker. So let's use Hoopa. Let's use Scoundrelling. I'm going to be kind of risky. We're going to search for a Shaymin-EX. How many Water Energies are on here? There's 5 Water Energies. How many Sycamores? There's 2 Sycamores. And yeah, it's kind of risky, but let's see if it pays off or not. Let's use the Hoopa. Gonna get these Shaymin. We're gonna set up, draw 2 new cards, and let's see, is it a Sycamore or an Energy? Let's see, and there's the Water Energy. So now we can free retreat into the Seismitoad. We can put a Water Energy on the active, and we can use Grenade Hammer for 140 damage, take a knockout on the Trevenant break, and we'll do 30 damage to both our Water Pokemon. Doesn't really matter. We're going to take the game, taking against the Trevenant break deck. And you can see this is a really good matchup. If you have double Manaphy, you can kind of just switch between them, heal both of them off, and pretty much win the game from there. Even though we can't play our item cards like the Energy Switches, Max Elixir, VS Seekers, you can see how easily it is, can be won. And you also have Toad as well, which you can Quaking Punch to kind of slow down your opponent if you want to, making it where they can't use their VS Seekers as well. But there you go. There is the Seismitoad, Manaphy, Articuno, Regice deck. I think it's a really good deck. I think both these games proved how really strong it is. Against Mega Manectric, we kind of did some weird things like Regice, so they had the Raikou out, then we kind of Grenade Hammer, then use Shaymin, or take a knockout of Shaymin, then kind of finished up with Articuno. We kind of got lucky in the flips, but hey, we take those. Let's press done, and let's see what our Mystery Wheel prize is going to be. It is 25 tokens, I think that's what it is. Yeah, guys, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, hope you have a great Tuesday. Alrighty, bye. Alright guys, just want to give a quick shout out to our 2 sponsors, 60 Cards and Yeti Gaming. The links are down below to their websites. Make sure you go check them out. Alrighty.